Efforts to recreate the International Space Station in the utmost detail, Double Negative's VFX supervisor Hugh Evans and a team of artists in India began with the basic model of the station. From there, the model was split into individual assets. At that point, Evans and his team waited to see where director Daniele Espinosa would point his camera, before focusing on the most prominently featured parts of the model. According to Evans, one of the tricky things they had to deal with was how clean the ISS actually looks in real life. Looking at reference photography, it all actually looked quite CG. The normal trick to break this up would be to add layers of dirt to the object, but they wanted to try their best to stay true to real life, so they erred away from dirt where they could, and went crazy with things like bolts, rivets, handles, cloth, basically anything that helped to add more texture to otherwise pretty flat panels. They did, however, finally succumb and ran a little dirt through, which actually helped to sell that last 2% of making something feel real. Another aspect of recreating the real-world ISS that cropped up was the literal mix-and-match nature of the station. Different modules of the International Space Station were built in different nations by different teams of people. Hugh Evans and his team went to great pains to ensure that those structural differences were preserved in the final film. The planet Earth was all CGI too. As you might imagine, a special effects company like Double Negative has plenty of reason to have an in-house CGI model of planet Earth, and according to Evans, the regularly updated model can accurately portray the Earth from any angle. It rotates, displays city lights and clouds, and that's just the base model. But Earth and space weren't the only things they used CGI for. For a moment when Olga Dokhovishny's character takes a walk in space, this was done entirely by CGI. Dokhovishnya submitted to a scan of her entire body to render a 3D model. From there, a team of artists in London went to work adding details to the final version. Next up is the gravity, or lack of. Throughout the film we see Jake Gyllenhaal and crew floating through the International Space Station in zero gravity. Now there are many ways to achieve this effect. You could film in a vomit comet where you fly all the actors up in a very large plane that then descends rapidly, making everyone weightless, while you quickly film the take and try to avoid getting sicked on. But this is an expensive method. You could have two guys in green costumes carry the actors in their arms in front of a green screen and chroma key the background. But that would be a ridiculous idea and a stupid way of doing it. No, instead, for life they opted to use wires and suspend the film's actors. It's a cost-effective technique that allows filmmakers to film reliably and predictably for long periods of time. Of course, on the tail end of things, Evans and his team tackled the detail-intensive course of scrubbing out every single trace of the wires. Imagine the artistry involved in erasing a single cable that happens to splice Jake Gyllenhaal's face in two, and removing it so cleanly that no one can tell the difference even when the image is blown up to the size of a movie screen. Maybe option 2 would be a better idea after all. Moving on to the film's big bad alien named Calvin. Calvin gets a lot of growth over the course of life. Like literal character growth, he begins as a tiny organism and evolves quickly into a freaky predator. Evans and Espinosa accomplished this feat by splitting Calvin's development into 7 distinct parts. Petri dish Calvin, finger-following tadpole Calvin, finger-hugging baby Calvin, hand-crushing flower Calvin, mouth-erupting larger Calvin, adult Calvin, and the final evolution stage Calvin. Now, every studio wants to deliver on a terrifying movie monster, but creature supervisor Aaron Borland had something a little more intensive in mind. According to Evans, Borland wanted her monster to be based in reality. Borland worked up a whole biology for this creature and tried to base it all on real-world references as much as possible, so each part of its design had a function, and it really paid off. Which movie VFX would you like us to break down next? Let us know in the comments section. Also, please don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on notifications for our latest video